Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hey, everybody. Hopefully, you guys can hear me because I did a little moving around and stuff like that. Hopefully, nothing is unplugged. Shout out to everybody in the chat. My goodness. Good morning or afternoon for some. Shout out to everybody. Yes, she did. She did a phenomenal video. I would check it out. People. Hold up. I hear myself here. There it is. I'm not trying to hear myself. She did a phenomenal video. Make sure you guys check it out. Storm, thank you for renewing your membership. Thank you. Shout out to Storm. Now, who else? Thank you. I just got to put the head up, man. I just, even though Baby Bunny doesn't like it, but I got to do what I got to do. I'm letting more people get in here before we really get started. Shout out to everybody. You said I'm number one this time. Hola, señoritas y señores. Welcome. Podcast Queen, shout out to you. Nebby's in the house. Ronan. Let's see. Is it Kenrisa? Kirisa? Thank you. Shout out to you. Hopefully I said your name correctly. Occasionally classy. I like that. Tear Talk, shout out to you. Thank you for being here. All right. Just watched the interview with Steve and Law and Crime, and he's definitely dug up some stuff. Can't wait to hear Rabbit on the chat. Well, all right, so let's get into that because we're going to be watching that one. And I know some of you guys have already watched it. I watched some of it last night, but I really tried to because I want to have like a real reaction with you guys. I try to not, finish it or maybe skim some of it and then kind of save my thought process till when I'm live. James, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Shout out to you. So, Jesse Weber, I'm sorry, this is a bad spot to stop in, but this is Jesse Weber. So yesterday it dropped, right? And there was a lot of different things that people were saying online about the information that SF Investigates found, or at least was able to bring up in this interview. Yes, we have that one too from News Nation, from Banfield. So Emily, we definitely going to watch that one. Thank you, James, again. I got nothing to say. Yes, you do, James. You always got something to say. Shout out to James. Now, before we get started, you guys know we're also following the Emmanuel Jarro case. So that's probably, it's interesting, some of the new information that came out where like Brian Enton is completely vindicated from that Perkins deal. That's going to be a separate video. And I also want to talk about Brian McKnight. How many of you guys grew up with that music? You're just a dream come true, Brian McKnight. I certainly did. But Brian McKnight has been very funny online. And he sued his family and for a book that the ex-wife wrote. Crazy. I'm like, I don't see Brian McKnight anymore. And he was laughing about this lawsuit and vindication when it was like a default, but like he's celebrating a little too quickly, in my opinion. So we're going to talk about Brian McKnight here in a little while. We have the lawsuit, so we'll definitely review it. Amy, thank you for gifting. Guys, if you've been gifted, make sure you guys are putting some hearts in the chat. Brian McKnight has been one of those people that you kind of, you're like a dream come true. Yeah. I just want to be with you. And I'm like, oh my God, is he really laughing and smoking a Cuban cigar, acting like he won something against his ex-wife, and then celebrating, I think on an anniversary of I think one of his children died of cancer, who he disowned publicly. It's crazy. Hey man, you got to be able to separate the music from the artist, right? That's what you have to do. So we're going to talk about that. Make sure you guys check us out on that later on. All right, let's get into this interview, and you guys let me know what you guys think in the comments as we give commentary. Let's go.
Starting to get a better picture of a lot of things, okay? So this PI himself, Steve Fischer, we'll play that interview in a minute. Now, quick refresher. So police raided this $3.64 million home, which David had reportedly been paying tens of thousands of dollars in rent. We know that Celeste's body was found in the trunk of his impounded Tesla back in September, that the Tesla was near this property. And to be clear, since then, there's been no suspects that have been named, no persons of interest, no arrests. David has canceled his tour. He's moved out of that mansion. He has transferred properties that he owned in Texas to his mother. The whole thing has been a lot of unanswered questions. And that is where this LA landlord apologies if I'm mispronouncing the name here, Maldon Truvanovich stepped in.
I'm sure the landlord probably gets it all the time. He's like, you guys can't say my last name. I'm one of them. I'm gonna call him Mr. Maldon. That's what I call him, or Mr. T. There you go. Nurse Janice, thank you again. Member for 9 months, sending love from the UK, and thank you for everything. Keep going. You're making a difference. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Nurse Janice. You are amazing. And thank you guys for supporting the channel again. Thank you. Thank you. Hold up. Y'all are funny well, thank you, Jace. You guys are funny in the chat. Let's keep going.
He wasn't content to sit back and just wait for the LAPD, so he brought in his own private investigator to start digging, to get some more answers. We've talked about that in a previous episode, but now we actually know who that investigator is, Steve Fischer. I'm going to play you that interview. It is something, but let me just say real quick, pin down exactly what this case is about. This all started on September 8th when LAPD officers were called to a tow yard on...
Is this the same tow yard? Or is it different? I mean, is this kind of how they're parked? You would have to imagine if they're smelling an odor, were they walking by the car and then I don't know, like everybody smelled it. Certain people smelled it. Was it just, how did they pinpoint where exactly?
Mansfield Avenue in Hollywood after workers noticed this foul odor coming from a Tesla that had been sitting there. That car was registered to 20-year-old singer David, real name David Anthony Burke, the Houston-born artist behind the hit Romantic Homicide. That Tesla had been abandoned near the Hollywood Hills rental property, towed away, and was just sitting there. And when officers opened the front trunk, they found something horrific. Human remains wrapped in plastic. And a few days later, it was confirmed that that body belonged to 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a teen runaway who had been missing from Lake Elsinore since April of 2024. Her remains were decomposed, suggesting that she had been in that car for weeks. The cause of death is still officially deferred.
Now, I'm going to try to go over to Steve because it's like, we got to hurry up. We kind of, for those of us that have been following, we know what the scoop is. Is this inside the garage? Where is this at? I never seen this picture before. Hold up. Yeah, this must be inside of the garage because it's like 3-car garage type of situation, right? Hold up. Let's see.
Search warrant on that property back on September 17th. So since David had been renting it for reportedly about $20,000 a month, a home that was owned by a man named Maldon Truvanovich. And officers reportedly collected electronics, computers. They searched the drains for traces of blood or tissue. At least that's the reporting from TMZ. Can't officially confirm that. But this homeowner had said that after he'd heard almost nothing from the LAPD about what they found, he was frustrated. And that is when he made his move and hired his own PI. He told TMZ and the Daily Mail that his family wanted answers about what might have happened in or around this home, and that he wasn't trying to interfere with the police investigation. He just didn't want to be left in the dark about what connections, if any, his property could have to all this.
As he should, because remember, he's renting to Josh Marshall, not David, not like he didn't even know, right? Surprise. Y'all imagine. I think it's the right thing to do. Mama, thank you you said unsolved. Mama YT should figure out the notifications. LOL. Unsolved Amy Boston. Thank you for the $2. Thank you, my love. Minnie, thank you again for being a member for 3 months, my love. Thank you for all that you do, Rabbit. Thank you. And Be Real, a member for 7. Thank you, my love. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Y'all are amazing. Thank you for supporting the channel. Smart move. Absolutely. To hire Steve Fischer. I agree completely. And Night Charm, thank you so much for the super sticker. Y'all are really showing out today. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love you too, Night Charm. Shout out to you. All right, let's keep going. I'm trying to get to where we get Steve Fischer right at the mic because I feel like some of us already know what's going on here.
Case is still under investigation. No case has been presented to his office yet. We're going to get into that a little bit. But now I want to bring on our special guest. I'm joined by private investigator Steve Fischer, who is hired by David's former landlord. Really appreciate you taking the time here to talk about this. First off, Steve, how were you hired? How were you retained in this matter?
So originally, when the body was originally found, I had another missing persons case going in LA of a female, and we thought that could be that individual. And so I kind of stayed with the case for a little while until she was identified, and we knew it wasn't. And I had, discovered some other things, such as the when the car was towed and the photos from it being towed and whatnot. And, the owner had gotten in touch with me of the house, and I shared some things with him, and it just kind of evolved from there.
That's good.
But one thing, I would say is he is the owner of the house. He wasn't David's landlord. David wasn't even on the lease, and the
I think it's important to differentiate, right? Because it's like I said, I mean, that makes a difference. Landlord didn't really know what was going on. You have those, I was a renter, I've been a renter. I understand you have those landlords that are really hands-on. And then you have those landlords that, as long as you're paying your rent, they don't really care, do what you got to do. That type of situation. But I mean, clearly he wants to know what happened in this property, or if it happened in this property, or what's going on, right? What happened to Celeste?
Never even knew that David was in the house. It was actually Josh Marshall, his manager, who had leased the house.
But to be clear, David was living there, right?
Yes, he was definitely staying there. It just was not known to the owner.
Right. Okay. And by the way, I understand this is, an active investigation. There might be limited what you can share. But what exactly is he looking for in this? What exactly is this property owner? What kind of answers is he looking for?
This has been the question that I get a lot in the comments when we've talked about the owner. Like, what is it that he wants? What is he looking for? I think it's an appropriate question. I'm glad that Steve gets to answer it.
So where really kind of evolved from was the search warrant was served, I believe, on the 17th or 18th. And it was a forced entry search warrant, meaning that nobody was home at the time. And they did not leave a copy of the warrant or of the return, the inventory list of the items that they took from the house. And it was really kind of born out of that. I was not officially retained at that time, but I helped him try to obtain that. And we told robbery homicide, hey, listen, no warrant was left behind. David was out on tour. Josh Marshall lives out of state, we found out. So the owner had his representative go to the house immediately after he found out about this. And there was no warrant, no return. So he really just wants to understand what of his property could have been taken and what the status of that is. And then also, this is troublesome when you learn something like this. All of a sudden you're thrown into this, and he feels absolutely horrible for Celeste's family. And he's like, if there's anything that involves, in and around my house that could help, then I want to discover that. And I'll tell you that there have been things that we've learned and we've turned right over to LAPD, but we think there's significant, things that could help.
Do you mean that there might be evidence that a crime was committed at that house?
Not so much a crime, no. And I'll just be honest with you. We don't have any evidence that anything happened to Celeste at that house, but there is definitely evidence that we've collected that helps the timeline. We now have a much better understanding of when that Tesla arrived at that final parking spot. I'll tell you, I do have surveillance from different houses in the neighborhood showing the Tesla being moved. So things like that, and I'm not even saying that LAP.
So this is interesting. Now, somebody in the community posted, and I was like, that's a good point. There is evidence that this Tesla had been moved. Who moved it? Was it David? Was it somebody else? Who moved this Tesla? I mean, again, this has always been the thing where it's like, right here, I think it was at the 2-minute and 9-second mark, car driven to spot, and with the date that it was, they left town right after that. I'm certain that was the last on purposely driven. She was put there. Somebody knew that this child was there because she didn't get herself in this car, right? Who had access to it? I mean, literally whoever, whether it was David or whether it was somebody else, that surveillance could really show is probably the person that knew that Celeste was there.
PD didn't have that. I'm sure they did, but we wanted to make sure. And, and we did some work on the up-resing the footage to find out who was driving the vehicle. And there are some other items that were found at the house that weren't taken during the search warrant. And, search warrants are limited, right? That they can't just go take everything. It's what the judge, and we don't know how broad that search warrant was because we haven't seen it. And that's what we'd like to see. But there were some things that were not taken into custody of LAPD that we think are significant, and including digital media and some other things that really help nail down timeline and things like that. And
you handed that over to LAPD. There's other.
We have literally the day that we, the things that we've recovered, we've given to LAPD within 24 hours, you know.
Good. The cooperation is there. And I hear what you're saying, but I think we have to be careful. And I think SF has to be careful, right? With what, how much you can say, he can't say. People want to know, and I get it, but there isn't a whole lot, you know what I mean? Like, he has to kind of put the investigation primary, and then he's also helping this landlord maybe understand what might have happened, what role the property might have played. Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out, Night Charm, on the footage on Melanie. Yeah, I heard that we got a picture of the mom and that there might be more information. So I'm definitely gonna check that out. I would agree on this, that the interview definitely helps paint a timeline. Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely.
Do you know who was driving that car, that Tesla? You don't have to tell me, but do you know the identity?
Yeah, as far as it going to the final, that what we believe is the final parking spot where it was towed from, yes.
And that information's been communicated to law enforcement.
So it's been given to law enforcement. They're not going to tell us if they're confirming if that's a person or not. Robbery, homicide, the way they work is we'll take your information. We're not going to speak on it, so I don't know. But listen, it's very clear that that neighborhood is filled with surveillance cameras and the timelines. Once we learn those dates and we can see other things that were happening that were even public on Instagram and whatnot, or going on in those people's lives, it makes a lot of sense.
So let me ask you this. If you see when the car was parked there, have you seen anything to indicate that Celeste's body was transferred into that car after the car was parked there? Or in other words, do you believe that her body was in that car the minute it was parked in the location it was ultimately towed from?
I think that's a great question.
So I'll say I have no evidence of a body being transferred before or after. There's no evidence of that at all. But I will say, when it was moved to that position, it was already like that. So that car had not been used in a very long time. It was super dirty, caked on dirt. I'll tell you, this was in late July. So it's bizarre because we also got...
He said late July, right? Which Flojo says in the comments, Celeste definitely died on or before the late July. It gives a timeline, I think, of if anything, that's what we have. Let me see what you're saying. Hold up. Late July. David postponed the tour for a couple of days until August. So was he not driving his car? Okay, I'm being asked to drop a triggering warning. Okay. Trigger warning. Guys, we're talking about a true crime case. Please note that these are some tough topics, I guess. Expect that there's going to be something triggering. Hold up. I just want to make that clear. I don't know what people need a trigger warning for it. Let me see. I think I have a banner. Hold up, y'all. Just, I think you would expect that there would be some triggering topics. Hold up. Let's see. And if you can't be here for that, that's okay. Maybe here it is. Okay. Let me hit play.
Media that the car was used a lot. David even spoke about it in Instagram videos. He took it to a detail shop and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, the very beginning of the year, that car, something happens, and that car's doesn't show up anymore. It's not used. It seems to disappear. And then that red Tesla learned, which we didn't know until the search warrant was served, that there's a red Tesla in the garage, which I can tell you was released on February 1st.
Who did the red Tesla belong to? Was that David's as well? I guess that's the point that I missed. Or was that Josh?
Yeah, let me just narrow down here. Do you have the precise date of when that car, the one with the Tesla, with Celeste's body inside, when it was left there? Do you know the specific date of when it was left in Hollywood Hills?
I believe so. I believe it. Late July. Very late July.
Oh,
so
wow.
One thing that we've heard, and this is something we've talked about, is the LAPD.
So this was before the tour, right? Or whatever was going on. This was way before the tour. So how does David, does he not drive his car for the months or the weeks? I guess I'm so confused before the tour. When was the last time David drove that Tesla? Does any of that make sense? How is it that you wouldn't know that there's a body in this car? You think, but Josh wasn't in the state. That it's weird to me. Hold up, let me go back a little bit because, okay.
You know the specific date of when it was left in Hollywood Hills?
I believe so. I believe it. Late July, very late July.
So
very late July. Just a time frame. This is a very important interview. Shout out to SF Investigates for this. Now, Sylvia, thank you so much for the 1999. I've arrived. Good morning. Thank everyone for being here with us. Thank you, Sylvia. Oh, hold up, y'all.
One thing that we've heard, and this is something we've talked about, is the LAPD has seized footage from the rental property, multiple security cameras around the property. There are even reports of a smashed Ring camera on the ground. Yeah. And according to TMZ, police seized all the footage from multiple security cameras at the house last month when they executed the search warrant. TMZ described that footage as a, quote, potential gold mine for investigators. And the question becomes, did you see anyone coming into or leaving that property after the Tesla was there? Oh. So after the Tesla with Celeste's body inside is there, can you tell us you saw people coming in and out of that property before the search warrant?
No, not from the time that the Tesla was left. So from the time the Tesla was left there, he literally immediately started the tour. There was a tour bus that was leased, and I'll tell you that Tesla was moved and literally a bus departed for tour.
Okay. You talked about things that might have been taken from the house.
Wait a minute. Go back a little bit. He says, hold up, right at the, let me go back right here.
The search warrant. TMZ described that footage as a, quote, potential gold mine for investigators. And the question becomes, did you see anyone coming into or leaving that property after the Tesla was there? So after the Tesla with Celeste's body inside is there, can you tell us you saw people coming in and out of that property before the search warrant?
No, not from the time that the Tesla was left. So from the time the Tesla was left there, he literally immediately started the tour. There was
okay. All right. Well, there you go. When the Tesla was left there, he immediately started the tour.
A tour bus that was leased, and I'll tell you that Tesla was moved and literally a bus departed for tour.
Okay. You talked about things that might have been taken from the house.
He doesn't say who moves the Tesla, right? He doesn't say anything. That's interesting. M7666, thank you so much for the $20. Thank you, Rabbit, for all your hard work. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Aw, you guys are amazing. Thank you for showing love. Make sure you guys are hitting the like button, please, and thank you. Hold up. Let's keep going.
Things that you handed over to LAPD. Is there anything you can share with us about what that information may be?
One thing that you just brought up, and I guess which TMZ reported on, the security system. The house has got a very sophisticated security system, not just with cameras, but with sensors and all types of things. It all records to a DVR. And for privacy reasons, the owner, when he leased the house, said, this is the system that's in the house, and you can use whatever functions you want on it. That's not something that then the owner could access. So we don't know if the cameras were enabled or not enabled.
Interesting piece of information. Yes. So Peekaboo says, so he left there in the Tesla before he started his tour. Yeah, I guess as soon as the Tesla was parked, that's when he started the tour. Did he expect people to be coming and going? Was anybody else checking on the house? Was anybody else? Because it sounds like people had access. Anybody can come and go. You said a smash door cam doesn't destroy the online recording. That's right. Yes. Can anyone find another property linked to David or close to him? Because there has to be another location she was staying at. Well, in California, I mean, technically, that property isn't linked to him. It's only linked to Interscope, right? Josh Marshall. The only two properties that we know that are linked to him, I mean, by paper would be the ones in Texas. That's it. You know, it said it was all part of the plan to leave the car parked there. But if he did this, or if somebody else did this, so leave the car parked there, go on tour. But if you leave your car there, you risk the chance of being ticketed. You risk being towed. That's not really smart, right? Like, you said he did not had plans. Listen to the interview. Interesting. Okay, let's keep going. I just think that if that's the last time, you risk being towed, right?
At least the house said, this is the system that's in the house and you can use whatever functions you want on it. That's not something that then the owner could access. So we don't know if the cameras were enabled or not enabled, but if they were, it wouldn't just be cameras. It would be, we'd know anytime anybody came and went from the house, anytime anybody opened a window, everything, if they kept it like it was. But we don't know. LAPD came in and took that whole DVR. They took the entire system, which you would expect. And I've talked to the security company that installed the system, and they've told me, how it was set up. We think it was probably running because there's limited alerts that the security guy can see, which is stuff like if there's a major failure. And there was a low power failure warning that triggered right when they were executing the search warrant. And I think that's when they unplugged the system. So there's reason to believe that the system was running. Whether the cameras were covered or not, I don't know. I can tell you that some of the smoke sensors in the house were covered, and that's probably because maybe I don't know what they were doing in the house. So the cameras might have been covered as well. During
the course of your investigation so far, have you learned more information about Celeste and David, perhaps their connection, anything we should be thinking about that hasn't been publicly reported? Is your investigation also into them as well?
Sure.
You know what? I agree with this. And I know you guys are saying, you got to keep watching. I'm literally reacting with you guys. I watched some of it, but I didn't capture all these details. That's why I'm having a reaction with it right now. Flojo says, yeah, she spent a lot of time at another place in Hollywood. Somebody has to have been harboring her. I do wonder about this. Did she stay 1,000% of the time there? 100% of the time there?
Yeah. And, one of the reasons that we kind of come public with what I'm doing is because, I have a little bit different method of working than a lot of private investigators and then what people think is the proper way of doing it. I believe in this digital age, and especially the younger generation, when they're on places like Discord and you don't even know their real identities, I put myself out there and those people do come to me, and a tremendous amount of people have come to me, and I've learned a lot. Now, listen, a lot of it's circumstantial, right? But there are people that are directly in his orbit, and there are people that have photos and videos, and we've gotten a lot of photos and videos from inside the home itself. So we can put people at certain dates and times at the house, and there's a lot of them. It's in the thousands.
Do you know if Celeste was ever at that property?
So,
he said it was a lot of them. It's in the thousands. 1,000 people in your house? It's in the thousands? That's crazy.
Of what we recovered, we don't have any of her at that property. We have pictures of her and that were taken by David, we assume, because it's not on a camera phone, but these photos are on a regular camera at different locations. And it really makes me think that it's likely she had another place she was staying. I can tell you that there was a lot of time spent towards downtown LA. And I'll say the last photo that we have of Celeste is January 2nd, 2025.
Okay, now that's significant because we were wondering when, she was last seen.
1,000 pictures, right? 1,000 pictures. But are these 1,000 pictures of different people that are in the house, or different, is that what it is? Thousands of pictures that people sent in the thousands. Okay, gotcha, Titi Marie, because I misheard that part. Hold up. He said 1,000. I misheard him, y'all. I apologize. I want to make sure I get it right.
Digital age, and especially the younger generation, when they're on places like Discord and you don't even know their real identities, I put myself out there, and those people do come to me, and a tremendous amount of people have come to me, and I've learned a lot. Now, listen, a lot of it's circumstantial, right? But there are people that are directly in his orbit, and there are people that have photos and videos, and we've gotten a lot of photos and videos from inside the home itself. So we can put people at certain dates and times at the house, and and there's a lot of them. It's in the thousands.
Do you know if Celeste was ever at that property?
Okay, yeah, I definitely misheard him. Thank you guys for correcting me in the chat. Shout out to the chat.
So, what we recovered, we don't have any of her at that property. We have pictures of her and that were taken by David, we assume, because it's not on a camera phone, but these photos are on a regular camera at different locations. And it really makes me think that it's likely she had another place she was staying. I can tell you that there was a lot of time spent.
I mean, with runaways, there's multiple places that they could stay, right? Tatum says, so what garage was he parking in? The garage wasn't unusable. They said on TMZ the garage was turned into something else. I think they had at least one car there parked, a red Tesla, if I remember correctly. I think that's what I remember what they said. At least one car that was parked there, but the rest, it's a 3-car garage. Some of it was used as like a game room.
Towards downtown LA. And I'll say the last photo that we have of Celeste is January 2nd, 2025.
Okay, now that's significant because we were wondering when, she was last seen alive. There was that surveillance footage of her seemingly running away from her neighborhood. And that
was September of 24, I believe. So
yeah.
We didn't have anything. We were like, where was this girl in 2025? But we do have a photo of her on July 2nd, early in the morning, July 2nd, 2025.
Has anyone, and just to be clear, you don't know more information about when she died, right?
No,
okay.
I don't have any information of how she died or when exactly she died. Investigations are always moving. And right now I tend to believe it happened a while ago, a long time ago. And I think January, February, things changed. I mean, you can see it in the photos and everything. And I also think when I first started looking at this case, I'm very much an Occam's razor type of person where I think things are a lot easier than people try to make them sometimes, especially online, into these big things. And I thought this was going to be a tragic overdose, which it very well still could be. And they made a bad decision because they didn't want to expose a potential relationship and put her in this Tesla. And then maybe he thought he could get somebody to get rid of that car. And they were just like, no, I'm not doing it. And just got left there.
I wonder about this. Oh my God. There'd be multiple people involved then, right?
But I will say this, there are some things that, and I'm talking physical evidence that was at that house that is, there could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her. And it's scary, sadistic stuff. And that's why we're trying to learn more about that. I wish I could say more, but for obvious reasons I can't. But it doesn't have to do with how she died. But
wait. He said what now? Hold up. He said, whoa. What did he say?
This was going to be a tragic overdose, which it very well still could be. And they made a bad decision because they didn't want to expose a potential relationship and put her in this Tesla. And then maybe he thought he could get somebody to get rid of that car. And they were just like, no, I'm not doing it. And just got left there. But I will say this, there are some things that, and I'm talking physical evidence that was at that house that is, there could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her. And it's scary, sadistic stuff. And that's why we're trying to learn.
Thank God for this owner. Oh my God. I'm glad that the owner's like concerned enough to say like, no, man, if LAPD or whatever is not going to give me answers, I'm going to, take matters in my own hands as ethically as I can. Oh my God.
Learn more about that. I wish I could say more, but for obvious reasons I can't. But it doesn't have to do with how she died, but maybe how they were planning on ultimately getting rid of her, and how maybe that Tesla was just a holding spot at the time, and things just, their timing was just off as far as getting this done. But there's a few things that were just like, will blow your mind.
Has anyone from David's team, management, legal, anybody reached out to you or your client?
I know that my client's been in touch with his manager, but only for the purpose of the lease, because they did ask to terminate the lease. And I believe the other manager that technically was the owner of the red Tesla, I think was in touch with him because they needed access to the house to get that vehicle and stuff out. Because that's another thing that they could be key in this, is that there's only one key to that house, and who had that and who had access to it and who was in it. Because we also have evidence that while David was on tour at the time between between the Tesla being found and the search warrant being served, David was on tour, but somebody was in that house. And there was actually a report made, not with police, but that homeowner association has a robust private security company. And we've gotten videos from them and reports. And so who had that key is probably the same person that, had access to the Tesla.
One key. Who, listen, there's a lot, right? We still don't know about David. What my thing is that if this was David, right? He went out and went on tour and performed like nothing was going on. He went out of state, out of tour, interacting with people online and all this other stuff like this. I do wonder, Man Bear, if you can. Some people that just have one key typically will say do not copy. Some keys can't be made copy. You can't make copies of it. I just have a hard time believing that somehow David didn't know about any of this. I'm sorry. Whether involved or not, whether he did, I really, really have a hard time believing that David did not know about any of this at all. It is suspect, right? If you know a blacksmith, you can get copies. Ooh, it's interesting. His songs about her describe her sadistic motives. Yeah. Whoever was given that charge, and he just kind of drove around with this body, or left, he did not even drive it around. He just left the car there, right? Damn.
Do you know who that person is, and do you believe that is the person that moved the Tesla?
So I definitely know who moved that Tesla on that late July before they went on tour. I can't say who the person, and I don't mean I can't say but I don't know who exactly was in that house, because it's just a report, but there's video, but you can't make a person out. But somebody was in the house, and being that there's only one key, it's like, okay, who had access at that time? So is it the same person that moved the Tesla? Was another last part of the plan about to go in motion as far as getting rid of her body? I don't know.
Now, we heard this week from LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman, and he actually addressed this case directly when a TMZ reporter caught up with him outside the DA's office. And regarding the status of the case, he said, quote, "It is currently under investigation. We don't discuss suspects or the points in a continuing investigation. When and if that case is presented to the DA's office and we make a decision on it, I'll make sure you're one of the first to know. A case has not been presented to our office for filing consideration." And just to underline that, a spokesperson for the DA's office confirmed to Complex that, no case has been presented for filing consideration. The LAPD also told the outlet that the county medical examiner still hasn't determined a cause or manner of death, saying, quote, "It remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of her body." Now,
this statement is crazy to me from the LAPD. I mean, I don't know.
Steve, you just told us a lot of information here. Are you surprised that we don't have a confirmed suspect from law enforcement or a person of interest or even an arrest at this point? Or can you say, from what you're seeing, that makes sense, but Jesse, maybe being on the lookout for something soon?
Yeah, I would say, Jesse, that makes sense, but maybe be on the lookout for something soon. I've seen this in a lot of cases. It tells me, listen, I don't have any inside information on this. I'm just saying, from my opinion, that this means that during the examination, the autopsy examination, there was nothing very obvious, such as a crushed skull, any bullet holes, anything like that. So they're waiting on toxicology to come back to make that final determination. Now, is the medical examiner in contact with the detectives in between this time? Are they? Absolutely. Do they have a preliminary determination? I'm sure they do. Yeah. I think the DA's office is working side by side with the detectives and telling them, this is what we need for these charges. This is what we would need for these charges. Can you get it or not get it? Listen, a crime.
Listen, the LAPD, the DA, they lie. I'm sorry. You kind of have to understand that these people are probably 20 steps ahead of a lot of people. But they have to watch what they say. I mean, we just saw it on the Emmanuel Jarro I just posted something on the community wall when Brian Ensign talked about the Perkins deal, and what did the LAPD, what did the Riverside County District Attorney's Office say? That's a lie. That never happened. And now it turns out that it's true, that it's actually true. So that's why I'm like, I don't necessarily, Nathan Hodgman could say a bunch of things. Chad Bianco could say a bunch of things. All these people can say a bunch of things, but I don't really trust anything. This is why I'm like, yeah, it would make sense why we would hire a PI, because it's weird. But at the end of the day, the police don't, they're, we pay taxes, but in reality, it don't ever really seem like they work for us, because I don't know. They work for their own.
100% happened here. At minimum, it's the concealment of a body, right? So we know somebody did that. Hopefully it's not, a mutilation. Hopefully those initial reports were wrong about her being dismembered. But one thing I have to say, even though I talked about how we found some things that could have meant they had a really twisted plan in place to get rid of her, it never went in motion. So you can't charge somebody for a crime that they may have thought about doing. So, we may never know more about that.
So Steve, before I let you go, do you have any indication about where David is right now?
Oh,
I don't. I have no idea. And it's kind of bizarre because his group has stayed so silent, what's left of his group, I guess. And I'm not even sure the conversations that the owner did have with his management in breaking that lease. I'm not even 100% sure his management knows at this time where he's at. I think his attorney might be the only one, and his parents.
Steve Fischer, really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much.
He's hiding out, but we all know he's online. We all know that he watches certain YouTubers. He knows we all know what's going down. We know that he's on the Reddits. We know that there might be some, coded or behind the scenes accounts. We know he's around. We know. Yeah.
For providing a little bit more.
Okay. So then Steve also went to Banfield. So let's get into Banfield real quick on, this whole situation. I don't want her to give me the whole, what is it? We already know what's going on with this case. So let's get right to where she interviews. Man, there it is. Here it is.
In a place where it was abandoned. And guess what? The window was partly down. And so, yeah, the person driving was visible.
Whoa, 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 wait, what? Hold on. I just learned something new.
His hands on some pretty jarring video of the singer David's Tesla as it's driving away from his mansion, and it ends up in a place where it was abandoned. And guess what? The window was partly down. And so, yeah, the person driving was visible. Here's my conversation with Steve.
The person driving the Tesla was visible and the window was down. And this was captured, I'm assuming, in footage?
Steve Fischer. Take a listen.
Yo.
How certain are you that this video of the car driving away from David's mansion is the last time it drove and ended up at the spot where it was abandoned, likely with that body inside?
I'm certain. Listen, I can't say 100% because there's not a camera trained on that Tesla once it's parked. Continuously that I've seen. I mean, there likely is a camera, but I've seen the car driven to that spot, and with the dates, with the date that it was, they left town right after that. I'm certain that is the last time the car was driven. It was put there with her, in the front trunk.
And there's one weird detail about there's a lot of weird details, and I'm going to get to what you saw through the driver's side window in a second, but there was an air freshener that was found in the car at this point that we see on our screen, where it was abandoned. Was that air freshener also hanging from the rear view mirror when it drove off from David's house?
It wasn't, but the window was half to 3/4 of the way down, which is odd because it was a very short drive. And also at that on that day, this is the very end of July 29th, it was like 78 degrees at that time in the morning, or 77 degrees. And if it was on the street where the house is, so it's shaded by the house. So, if you're going, I don't know why the window would be rolled down unless there's something, offensive there. And then all of a sudden one of the first things I picked up on when the news first broke about her being found in there, they were towing the car away from the
maybe window down because of the smell, very likely. But apparently, this was on footage. Okay.
impound lot to LAPD was, why an $104,000 car is there a Christmas tree air freshener hanging from the from the mirror? It seemed kind of odd to me, but I guess maybe they thought that would help, mask it for when they had to move the car again.
If there was that smell at that time, because again, we have no idea when Celeste started decomposing in that trunk. We don't know if she'd been decomposing in the trunk for.
Wait, I wonder, like, okay, if she died in that house or died somewhere else, man, if there was footage of people or somebody or the person that actually put her in that trunk.
A long time before it ended up being, the car ended up being abandoned. But talk to me about the date of this video, July 29th, and talk to me about what you saw. What did you see in terms of the identity of the person driving through that open window?
So it's very clearly that Tesla, one, because the Tesla has that tape on the rear spoiler for whatever reason. I don't know why it's there. And also, it was just like it is in that picture. It was that dirty, except you could tell that they had run the windshield wiper like once to clear the dirt away so they could see. And it comes very close to the camera, although there is some motion blur, but you can see the person and you can see what they're wearing something pretty distinctive. And there's photos that I have from 12 hours earlier.
I agree.
A person at the house wearing the same thing.
12 hours earlier from the person of the house wearing the same thing. LOL. How's the air freshener going to get rid of the scent? Right. I mean, clearly no geniuses, right? Clearly. They probably had to move car, maybe to the smell. Y'all think that she was in the Tesla for a while before it was moved? Unless she died somewhere else and then they put her there. That's what we don't know. That's what we don't know. You say she didn't put herself in the trunk and wrapped herself up in that plastic bag. I agree. Whether it's real about this info or not, he better get some protection. I don't know. That's the thing, is who did it?
And I know that the viewers right now are screaming at the TV set saying, Ashley, ask him who it was.
I mean, I honestly wish I could tell you. I don't want to, I don't want to interfere with LAPD on that. And I think that's coming because we know a crime was committed 100%. Somebody concealed her body, and hey, maybe the reason I don't want to say the person's name is because maybe this person was just someone that was asked to move the car, and didn't know. I find that very hard to believe, and I doubt that's the case. But
it was somebody who might have had access, sounds like, to at least a key to the house, and clearly access to the car, right?
In case, I'd rather LAPD make that announcement.
Well, and it's important for us to tell viewers as well that you turned all this material over to them. You're the one who found it. You're the one who took it to them. You're the one who said, and I connected it to the photos from just 12 hours earlier. And
to be fair, guys, like, it sounded like maybe somebody else was involved. Ari, the manager, I think, was out of state. So I don't even think if he was in the situation or if he helped, like, I don't know. We really don't know. It sounded like it might have been somebody, not him. And that seems to be kind of like the theme. It might have not been him, but I don't think it takes away from any culpability. I have a hard time believing that David didn't know.
The clothing, it looks like this could be an ID. July 29th, important because that was the last day that David was in Los Angeles, right? But before he went off on his tour. So he was there in Los Angeles on that day that drive happened.
Yeah, I've seen on one of his public social medias, he had put a video out where it was the first day on their new tour bus because they were going to San Francisco, I believe, for the first night of the concert series. And they did a video from inside the tour bus. So I believe hours after that car was moved, they actually got on the tour bus and headed to San Fran.
Let me Let me ask you this, and I only have a couple seconds left, but you found some other suspicious things. The landlord, as you know, we obviously know now, allowed you into the house, and you saw some things in there that were very uncomfortable and very suspicious. I know you can't say certain things, but what can you tell us about what you saw inside the house?
Ooh, he has to be careful what he says. Hoodies in a Crowbar says, I would like to know the movements of the car in the weeks leading up to it being moved to the spot it was found. It could help determine if she died in the house. I agree, Hoodie. I think it's just interesting information. What were her movements? Who saw her? Who had contact with her? When was the last time she text messaged anybody? In addition to that, where is her phone? Where are her belongings? Right? Especially for her phone, because especially a kid that's on the run. I mean, that would be like an access line to places to stay, friends, even family, even though she's on the run.
Well, and this is the landlord found it also, but there were some things in there that were hard to think about, because these would be items that would be used if you wanted to get rid of a body, and there's really no other purpose for them at a house like this or anything. And they're expensive items, and so they weren't jokes, and but they weren't used. I'll tell you that they were still in the box. So I don't know how much we'll find out about that in the future, because you can't charge somebody for thinking about doing something. But I think that they had a plan.
But it's important.
He doesn't confirm it's David. He doesn't say who it is, right? So for the person that was saying, well, I can't really, he can't say, like, I don't know what it is that y'all, there's a specific person I had to time out because I'm like, you're doing too much in the chat, but he can't really tell you who it is. I think that I never expected to watch this video and expecting Steve to tell me whether it was David or another person. He's got to wait for law enforcement to say something. I mean, otherwise, why would he come on national TV and give us anything at this point? He's working with landlord and law enforcement. He's got to respect what he gets.
To know, because the first thing I said when I learned of that was that, well, that can't be possible because the LAPD raided the place and took everything. But you know for a fact that they photographed those things, and they're huge and heavy and expensive, and so they have ample information and photographic evidence of those things.
They said that we inquired about this, and they said that they photographed it. I don't know why they didn't take it. There's 2 items. I don't know why they didn't take them, but they said they photographed them.
Okay.
So tonight we know this much. Somebody parked that Tesla where it was abandoned.
Yep.
And that somebody walked away. And somebody somewhere knows exactly what happened to Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
Somebody knows something. And Ines says celebrities usually have an entourage of people. The truth won't hide for too long. That entourage piece, right? People travel with entourage. It seems like the younger the celebrity, the more, there's a lot more entourage to the celebrity too, right? I don't know. Yeah. You said what he was asked. Can you say it wasn't David you saw? Or what he wasn't asked, or what he asked? That would be okay. I don't know if he could answer, because then I don't think, even if you hear him speak, he kind of tells you that it might be another person, might be another person. That's what it sounds like. Could be entourage, could be somebody else, but whoever the person was, they had access to property and they had access to the car. And Steve better get some bodyguards. Steve's going to be all right. Younger people always have more chaos around them than their lives to settle it. I mean, when you're young, you're trusting all kinds of people. That's what I got from him too, right? Like, he can't say anything, but if you read between the lines, and even what he doesn't say kind of makes you wonder, like, he doesn't tell you who it is, but you know that there might have been another person involved. He also doesn't exonerate David or anything like that. You know what I mean? Oh my God, she's playing blocks. Sorry, she's loud. She doesn't exonerate David. So I think it's important to kind of note.
The question now is whether investigators will make that name public, or if there's going to be an arrest soon.
Yeah.
Either way, we're not done, because this story and Celeste deserve answers and justice. I'm Ashley Banfield, and as always, thank you so much for listening. If you
she also, I think she did the News Nation one yesterday, and this might be the same interview. It is. I don't think it's anything different. What do you guys think? Thoughts? Let me see if I can pull another thoughts, ideas about this. Where do you guys land with this? What do you guys make of this? What do y'all think? What do you make of this? I feel like we got a little bit more information, that's for sure. I feel like sounds like there might be more than one person involved in this. That's what it sounds like. It's not what it seems. Justice is coming for the lovely girl. I hope so, right? And this is why I don't want SF, investigates divulging a bunch of information. We don't want that. We don't want him saying way too much. I'm okay with him speaking in what's the word? In codes, or saying the things that he doesn't, just I'm okay with that, because like I said, this is about justice, not so much about what I think, that's just my thought on that. But you guys let me know. Now, yes, I know people have been saying Sloan Bella. Guys, like I said, you guys are entitled to your beliefs. Personally, I kind of, you guys are entitled to your beliefs. That's what I'm going to say. I don't know. I know Sloan Bella has done, and I've talked about Sloan Bella before, because if you guys remember, she did the Diddy prediction. I mean, she did call out a couple things. I'm pretty spiritual. I can believe some stuff, but if it's not tried in court, I don't know how much I can hold to anything. You know what I mean? I think he knew. David involved, let's see a bigger picture. Well, it sounds like there might be another person. And to me, I mean, even if we go back to Jesse Weber, hold up. See if I can I'm going to pull the transcript on this, okay? I want to pull no transcript? Yes, there's a transcript. Good. There's some, let's see if we can pull. No, I don't want this. Footage when he says, hold up, let's see if we can go right to it. The investigation, yada yada yada, footage, something about,
not even saying that LAPD didn't have that. I'm sure they did, but we wanted to make sure.
What footage did LAPD have? And like I said, I'm pretty sure they probably took everything, but whatever additional footage that Steve and the landlord found, they probably handed it over to LAPD.
And, and we did some work and on the upresing the footage to find out who was driving the vehicle. And there are some other items that were found at the house that weren't taken during the search warrant. And, search warrants are limited, right? They can't just go take everything. It's what the judge, and we don't know how broad that search warrant was because we haven't seen it. And that's what we'd like to see. But there were some things that were not taken into custody of LAPD that we think are significant. And
what things were, and he doesn't say, right? But what is it that, this is the piece that I was wondering, like, what is it that, the PI, Steve, and what is it that they found that was not collected by LAPD? Now, if you guys have ever been in a situation like this where, LAPD, whatever law enforcement agency is investigating, they don't take an item, but you might find it and you're like, well, why wouldn't they do this? Or why wasn't this entered into evidence? Or, you find relevance about it later on. I do find this to be interesting that, it makes you wonder, what is it that they found exactly? Chantel, thank you so much for the $2. Love you, Rabbit. Late replay. Thank you, my love. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for keeping it cute. And Ronan just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. Ronan, if you've been gifted, guys, make sure you guys are putting hearts in the chat. I don't think so. Alfredo, I've seen a lot of SF Investigates interviews. I think that's just SF. But I mean, if you're talking to Law and Crime, if you're live streaming or recording, I mean, any of that would make you nervous. Now, Blue Frog, can you stop it? Her bestie, for Jeff, you keep talking about Eugenia Cooney is Celeste. Now, listen, I'm gonna give you another timeout because you're doing too much. I don't think Eugenia Cooney is Celeste. Okay. Now, if you think that, I don't think this is. I'm sorry. I'm sure. Put a one in the chat if Eugenia Cooney is Celeste. I don't know what else to tell you, love. I don't know. Because that's if you think that, I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, sure. Yeah.
including digital media and some other things that really help nail down timeline and things like that.
And you handed that over to LAPD.
Wait.
We have the day.
Okay, so they handed it over to LAPD. Somebody say, who's that? Because Eugenia Cooney disappears every once in a while. So I got somebody in the chat talking about Eugenia Cooney is Celeste's Eugenia Cooney. No, my friend, it's not. I don't know. And it's very disrespectful, right? Thank you, Be Real. Like, what are you doing? I'm sitting there and I saw that new theory. I'm like, no, that is not a new theory. I do not support and we do not endorse. No, we don't. I'm watching you drop the same comment and I'm like, I don't know what. You got people. Stop it. Okay. First of all, it is very disrespectful to even make that. I don't know who said that. I don't have time for that. Okay. Rabbit, give her nap and a hot dog. I don't know. Blue Frog, please take a nap. Eat a hot dog. Do what you got to do. I'm sorry. This is too much. That's too much, y'all. That's too much. I can't do that.
Literally the day that we, the things that we've recovered, we've given to LAPD within 24 hours, you know.
Do you know who was driving that car, that
there
Tesla? You don't have to tell me, but do you?
Now listen the way Steve answers this question. Okay, this is where I wanted to go at. Listen to how he answers this question.
Know the identity?
Yeah, as far as going to the final, that what we believe is the final parking spot where it was towed from, yes.
Okay.
And that information's been communicated to law enforcement.
So it's been given to law enforcement. They're not going to tell us if they're confirming if
say nothing.
That's a person or not.
So Steve is just in the dark about, like, he might be cooperating with law enforcement and giving the information, but law enforcement does not have to cooperate with him or the PI or anything. So yeah, like, keep that in mind. I think that because I see some people being frustrated, I'm like, I understand your frustration, but he also has to kind of like, he's got to balance this relationship that he has both with the landlord and law enforcement.
The way they work is we'll take your information. We're not going to speak on it, so I don't know. But listen, it's very clear that neighborhood is filled with surveillance cameras and the timelines. Once we learn those dates and we can see other things that were happening that were even public on Instagram and whatnot, were going on in those people's lives, it makes a lot of sense.
So let me ask you this. In anything to indicate that Celeste's body was transferred into that car after the car was parked there? Or in other words, do you believe that her body was in that car the minute it was parked in the location it was ultimately towed from?
So I'll say I have no evidence.
I'm sorry, you said I'm breaking up? Y'all hear me? The sound is choppy. Oh no, hold up, guys, hold up. Testing. Let me know. I'm skipping. Okay, give me 1 sec, guys. Give me 1 sec. All right, y'all see me? Let me know. You guys see me? Let me know. Put a 1 in the chat if you see me, because I see me, but I don't know if you guys see me. All right, y'all hear me? Okay, can you guys hear me though? Can you hear me? Thank you. All right, I don't know what was going on. That page completely went out. You said he was somewhat identifiable in the heat in the bag. It's pretty much July. He gives us interesting information, right? So We got choppy again. All right. Okay. Listen, I'm going to end the stream, guys, because it's just not going to work out. But we did watch the 2 videos that were important. Hopefully, you guys can see me. Sound is bad. All right. I will see you guys later. I'm just going to end. Something's going on with the stream. Bye, guys. I'm ending the stream, guys. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully, you guys hear me. Can y'all hear me? Hello, hello, hello. Ending the stream. Bye, guys. Bye, bye, bye.